Hello and welcome everybody to the first annual Sports Ethos Invitational Draft. I'm excited as all heck. I got Rick Campbell in studio. We're going to be guiding you through today's invitational draft, and it's got a massive list of heavy hitters inside the industry, outside the industry. I cannot wait to tell you what we have in store for you guys. We're also giving away a prize to charity in the winner's name, and then the winner actually gets cash. So they're going to actually play this thing real tough. So I can't wait to get started. I'm going to quickly run through a list of the participants, and then we'll bring Rick in and get his thoughts. The order of this draft, it's a 9-cat head-to-head draft. What we decided to do this year is this thing's getting played out with no transactions all the way to the end of the season. There'll be a playoff format at the end, and whoever's left standing wins. So it's a little bit off in a sense. I don't know that we would normally do things this way, but we wanted to keep this easy and fun for everybody involved, and at the end of the year have something to play for. So join us over on YouTube if you're catching this on Twitter, and you guys can probably chat away in the chat and get some of your questions answered, possibly. We'll see. And let's get to it. We got in the 1 slot. I can't believe this happened. I watched it happen. I watched him cheer. Rick Campbell's drafting out of the 1 slot. You know him from all of his history in the inventor of fantasy basketball, all of his history in fantasy basketball and whatnot. We got Brian Rosenworcel, drummer for Guster, most excellent drummer for Guster, and very much a fantasy addict, I might add. We got Andre Lemouche, our intrepid producer, who has been behind the scenes at SportsEthos forever, and a lot of you guys know him, our subscribers and such. Philip Rossman-Reich, Orlando Magic Daily. We've got Andy Murray, tennis great. Also, low-key, one of the most intense fantasy basketball players I know. Tommy Beer, who covers the New York Knicks, has his own Substack and has been all over the place for many, many years. Dan Palio of Rotoballer. Dan Titus of Yahoo Sports. Our own Dr. A here at Sports Ethos. Trevor Lane of the Front Office Sports Show. Matt Stroup, formerly of RotoWorld, somebody that we worked with for years and years and years and years. And then yours truly, I get to draft in the 12 slot. Wonder how that happened, Andre. Just saying. So this draft is going to get kicked off here very soon. Rick, how you feeling? You're going to just punt this first pick. You're not going to take Wemby. You got a thing for Luka like Doc, right?
No, I do not. And I've got that thing that Doc has for Luka for Wemby, and I will be taking him with the first overall pick. And I'm very excited about this. Brew, to be doing this draft, to be here with you and Andre, and hopefully soon Dr. A. But, this is my last draft. Opening night is tomorrow night. Here we go. We just completed the 30 deep draft. Brew, I know for you and me and Doc and many others, that was a cumbersome task we got through. But I'm very excited. This is the only team that I will have Victor Wembanyama on. And it's not just a content draft. We are going to play this out. Albeit without any moves. So I got a little what's at stake going on here. I'm excited, Brew.
I didn't get Wemby anywhere in a snake draft. I didn't get number 1 overall pick, but I did participate in a high stakes auction. And I tell you, I would have just given everything to have Wemby. If somebody wanted to bid me up all the way, I was going to leave that draft with Wemby. And there was nothing anybody was going to do about it because the belief is there. And, I just needed at least one Wemby. If I'm going to do however many 20 leagues I'm in this year, I want at least one Wemby. I mean, how could you not have one Wemby out of 20 tries? So looks like the draft is starting here in 2 minutes. How many times have you gotten? You said you only had him once this year, Wemby? Rick?
Yeah, this will be the only team that I have Wemby. I may do another draft tonight, Brew, maybe a Yahoo little $20 joint. Yeah, I don't know. I like doing those leagues. Just add a little bit more. I don't know. I may or may not. But yeah, this will be the only team that I have Wemby.
So with Wemby, how are you thinking about things and approaching this draft? Like,
that I'm going to win.
Now, I know that you're. Well, here's the sad thing. The question is like, can anybody beat Wemby if he stays healthy and plays 70 games? That one I want to see as this all plays out this year.
Wemby's been drafted
off the board. So mad. Why can't I just get one Wemby, please? Nikola Jokic off the board at number 2. No shocker there. Andre, he's locked in. Shea Alexander.
SGA over Luka. That required some investigation.
We should bring him into the show and make him talk. I think that would be phenomenal.
That'd be awesome. Is he worried about Luka's injury or what, man? That was an interesting pick.
Yeah,
And by the way, Brew, is this the Andy Murray? Were you kidding, or is this the Andy Murray?
Yeah, no, that's Andy. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Huge fantasy sports guy, and really, like, we've been chatting for a couple of years now, and just some of the most intense fantasy questions that you would know. Yeah, he's very much into it, and I would put him on being very good this year. He goes Giannis with his first pick, and Tommy Beer, the great Tommy Beer. What's up, Tommy? I'm going to see what he does here. We're on a minute clock, so we'll see how things go in between picks, and we'll kind of surf around some topics and just kind of see what's kicking here. I mean, Rick, I don't know about you, but in all of my drafts, the talk of the town's been these big names falling in drafts. You got Joel Embiid, like falling like a rock in drafts. You got Kawhi Leonard getting drafted outside of 100. Paul George, a little bit of a free fall. Do you have any? We'll catch up with the picks here in a second. Do you have any thoughts? We talked about this earlier with Jacob Dunn. So sorry for the repeat questions, guys, but like, is there a point in time you can draft Joel Embiid? Are you in on that discussion?
No, because it's just, you just draw a line in the sand. Like, I was in a draft. I forget who, what, when, where. I've been doing so many of these, but Embiid fell to the second round and I wasn't compelled. I'm like, and I had a pick and I chose somebody else. I didn't remember who I picked. Might have been Donovan Mitchell or something like that. I'm like, I just don't want to take this journey with him this year. And Paul George has already blown a tire. And so the whole Philly thing is off and running here. And so I can't get with it. Shocking pick in 30 deep, Aaron Brewski. For those listening, there's 30 of us industry people that get together, and we've been doing this league for 20 years. And it's a great league. Okay. It's a 30-team league, okay, people? We just completed the draft. But, Brew, Damian Lillard fell to 28. 28! Like, I get it, he fell out of the top 10. He's still going to go 26 or 7 points, 7 assists, probably second or third in the league in threes made. Like, I don't get, did you see that Damian Lillard fell to 28? Did that make any sense to you?
No. And I wish that I had a second pick in the first round so I could have taken advantage of something like that. But, sometimes I think the momentum with Lillard is it's a fall. He's been falling kind of all summer. I thought there was a great article by Sam Amick of The Athletic explaining why last year was the way that it was. And I would highly recommend that you guys go check that out and maybe give you some context. It helped me kind of lean in a little bit more with Lillard. I'm not going to sit here and say he's one of my top picks, but
hey, Brew, real quick, you should make a pick, bro. You're on the clock.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you guys to inform the guy talking that he should probably hit a button here. Oh, there's a lot on the board here. I could go Harden. I could go LaMelo Ball. Anybody? LaMelo Ball?
6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And I am officially the guy that uses his entire clock. Because if you're on the end of a draft, use your clock, guys. Just do
it. Use it all.
Piss everybody off. Who cares? But whether they got what better things do they have to do than draft? I am on the clock for my second pick. I took Anthony Edwards here. And now the question is, do I take anybody buzzy? Now, you know what? This might be the year. If there is a year to be at the end of a draft, this might be the year. I'm just going to get James Harden and get out here. I think James Harden wants to play 82 games and set up his next contract for something amazing. Let's go back in time and look at some of these picks here. Speaking of Joel Embiid, Trevor Lane took the plunge at 10. I'm good with it. It's crazy, but I'm good with it. Anthony Davis went 6. So that's good value there for Tommy Beer. Dan Palio got Jason Tatum at 7, sort of a safe play. It's like he was the safe sort of presented athlete in the Netflix, what's that? A series, docu-series on NBA players. Dan Titus, Tyrese Halliburton.
Starters or something, starting 5.
Yeah, Jason Tatum, safe Jason Tatum.
Tyrese
Halliburton. Yeah, he's a really safe play. I get it. He's a safe play. And maybe that's the angle in the middle of the first round where there's been just sort of a dearth of exciting options. And then Trae Young at 9 to Doc. I bet he's pretty happy about that. Donovan Mitchell at 11 to Stroup. Stroup, you got to tell me, man, is it Stroup or Stroop? It's been too long. I am so sorry. Okay.
I like his team, though. Donovan Mitchell and Kevin Durant. I like his team.
Yep. Kevin Durant back on the turn for Stroup. And Chet. I was wondering when Chet was going to go. Chet's had a lot of positive momentum lately with the Isaiah Hartenstein injury, and he has been able to rise up draft boards. I've seen him in the first round. I didn't think I would see that this season, but it happened. Goes to Trevor Lane at 2-3. Scotty Barnes off the board to Dr. A at 2-4. Man, how do you like that, Rick? That's some real good value there, I would say.
I mean, I love Dr. A's team, Trae Young and Scotty Barnes. I worry about a shutdown for Barnes with Toronto getting into the Cooper Flag thing. But, the hope is that they're on the fringe of the play-in tournament, down there in that 10-11 mix in the East, giving them that incentive to play him down the stretch. But, I mean, you love the 3-cat stat line. You love the blocks, the steals, the threes. I mean, I'm a huge Scotty Barnes guy, and so I'd rather have Scotty Barnes than Chet Holmgren. I just think that there's a fatter stat line going on there.
It's a fascinating discussion. You could probably do an entire pod on that question right there. LaMelo Ball to Dan Titus. Shout out Dan Titus. That LaMelo Ball, he's either going to make your day, Dan, or you're going to be crying for the third straight year like the rest of us. Karl Anthony Towns goes to Dan Palio. Cat continuing to rise up draft boards. I saw Cat go in the first round of a high stakes draft, and it was a well-respected player that took him. So I thought that was really interesting to see how far Cat had risen. Jalen Brunson goes to Tommy Beer at 2.
Of course he does.
Yeah, I was going to say he's going to have to mention that one in the locker room.
Good for Tommy Beer.
Yeah. And that Cat pick is it's tantalizing. This is a guy that used to play 82 games early in his career and was in a top 5 fantasy discussion almost every time. I'd say in the 4th, 5th, 6th years after that, he was kind of the guy, and now he's back to being the guy again. And he takes Domantas Sabonis, and that's going to be a lot of PRA going on for Andy. As mentioned, Andy, pretty slick with the picks there. And that takes you to Philip Rossman Reich of Orlando Magic Daily, one of the best beat writers I have seen covering the game. He goes with Devin Booker to pair with Luka. Andre, real quick on the trigger there with Steph Curry in the 2-10 slot. That, to me, I think Curry, he could have an electric year. What's your ceiling for Curry this year, Rick?
I just think he's going to have a huge year. I think, Golden State's going to be in it, whether it's the play-in tournament, whether it's making the top 6. They're going to be playing all the way to the end of the year. All chips are going to be in the middle of the table. So I'm on the clock right now. And we got Wemby. I'm looking at LeBron. I'm looking at Lillard. And I'm looking at Morant. And I'm pretty excited with these options, honestly. How much time we got left? 28. Man, it sure would be nice to go 2-12 and then 3-1 or 3-12. I don't know, but we do that weird round thing here. All right. I'm going to take Damian Lillard and get all those threes and match him with Victor Wembanyama. And Brew, you are back on the clock.
I know, and it's scaring me to death because I got 2 good guards, and I'm going to stare at another good guard here and ask myself, am I going guard again for the time in this year's draft after knowing quite well that you can wait, but I just can't do it. The question for me is Kyrie Irving or De'Aaron Fox, and I believe I'm going to make up for past ills. If you know, you know. De'Aaron Fox is the pick. Brings up Stroup, who can send me a sternly worded letter if it's Stroop. Really do need somebody to mention which one it is. Otherwise, it's going to be a long day. With Mitchell and Durant on the board, he has quite a bit of flexibility here to kind of do what he wants with his team. One question that I've been having in drafts is how quickly do the bigs go off the board? There's a couple bigs on the board right now. I don't know if it's fair to say them by name, though. I always hate when people are in the draft room just shouting out names of the players in your queue. It's the worst.
I think we're in the big boy waters here. I don't think there's any surprises. Like if you said Alperen Şengün, I don't think any of these fantasy experts are going to be out here going, yeah, he's right, Alpy. So this is an interesting pick by Stroop going Kyrie Irving with Donovan Mitchell and Kevin Durant. I say that because, Brew, I got a little layer of strategy going on here. I feel like, look, we're playing this out, right? There will be a winner, right? So I feel like, and it's kind of like best ball meets NBA. So I feel like availability and durability is monstrous in this right now.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing, I mean, we can't make a move all year. Okay. So you just kind of set it and forget it. And so I'm really looking at guys that are going to be able to stay on the floor. That's why I took Lillard over Ja Morant and LeBron James. So I'm not really that worried about, but we're all worried about Ja Morant, but that's why I made that last pick that I did.
Yeah, it's that. And then the question with guys like Embiid is like, can they stay upright during the playoffs? And that becomes more of a standings question in some way. And I know that the Sixers are going to probably opt to keep Embiid upright as much as possible. But to me, Embiid is the biggest wild card in this draft, just because it's like a nuclear weapon in a sense. Like he could just like show up if he plays 65 games in all those playoff games. You're getting a top 3-4 player, at such a discount. It's incredibly gutsy stuff to take him, but it's just sitting out there for somebody. So we'll see if it works or not.
I just feel like he's playing 50 games, Brew. You know what I mean? I don't even think
that's the smart number, by the way.
I just don't. He's not coming close to 65 games.
Because
even with the back-to-backs alone, he'll miss like 17 games or something. So that takes him to the 65 right off the bat.
Yeah. And then to add another 10 for whatever, or 15 is the number that feels good as far as a projection goes. And it's funny, once you get lower than that, you're like, man, the guy's going to play half the games. What are we doing here? But at 50 or even 60, he's still got some value, like serious value. It's not like your guy just fell off a total cliff doing that. Let's update the draft board here. We got LeBron going to Trevor Lane, Jaren Jackson going to Dr. A. We should remind Doc that he's missing the first game with a hamstring injury. That'll make him feel real good. Cade Cunningham to Dan Titus, Fred Van Vliet to Dan Palio, Tommy Beer gets Alperen Şengün, Jalen Williams to Andy Murray. That Andy Murray. Philip Rossman-Reich takes Bam Adebayo. That leaves Andre on the clock, who scoops quickly Evan Mobley. And there are some teams right now, I'll just say that, there are some teams right now that are doing damage on the board. And everybody's doing pretty well right now, actually. This is, I like the way that this draft is kind of going. We got Jalen Johnson going to Brian Rosenworcel. So
all right.
A lot of fun players off the board right now. And Rick, you are up. You finally get your first back-to-back picks here. What are you thinking with a Wembanyama Lillard combo?
I'm looking at Ja Morant, who I thought a lot about with that Lillard pick. So I think I'm going to take Ja. LeBron was taken, right? LeBron got taken?
LeBron was taken by Trevor Lane.
Darn you, Trevor Lane. So I'm going to take Morant. And then with that second pick, I want to go with a big forward. I may go Paulo. All right, I got to make this first pick here. I mean, this is a sexy team, man. I'm going to go Ja Morant. And at the end of the third round, Brew, I'm okay with some injury risk here with Ja Morant. You know what I'm saying? But like Lillard, I feel like Lillard's going to have a very, very good year, by the way. Very available and just killing it.
Well, Ja Morant has a lot of pop, and you can read Rick's column inside of the draft guide. It's Rick's pop players. And as you can see, Rick is going for pop here. And your theory here is you don't care so much about percentages, right?
I don't. I feel like, look, I care about all the categories, right? I want to win. But I feel like it's so much more important to get PRA, but like we talk about, blocks, steals, and threes. You have to have those categories. And so when you get a Wembanyama, right, like I'm so set up with that I could take a Paulo Banchero, who's not great with the fantasy gold, the threes, the blocks, the steals, but he's going to be great with the PRA and could get up to 2 threes per game. That's literally why I just took Paulo, is because I got Victor And so, because I was looking at maybe a Miles Turner, guys like that, but I'm like, nah, let's go get another heavy hitter here with Paulo Banchero.
Yeah, you got a lot of PRA going there. And then Wemby is just a cheat code. And I'm just so curious what happens next season if Wemby has the big year and what that would look like. Like, that kind of the numbers behind that, we're not going to really get access to. But like, is it 50% of the teams with Wemby win? Is it 75? Is it 25? I would love to get some real data on that. Rosenworcel takes DeJounte Murray at 4-2. That's great value there. Jimmy Butler to Andre. Markkanen to Phillip, and then Andy is up. I'm real curious what Andy's doing here.
Did you not like his Jalen Williams pick?
No, I loved it. I love Jalen Williams. You
loved it, okay.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I love Jalen Williams. I mean, the ankle injury drops a little bit of the heat off of him. I don't know how much that caused him to fall in drafts, if any. And I just love everything about not just him, but that entire team. And he looks bigger than he did last year. He doesn't look like he's lost anything. I think he's going to be just a handful for years to come. So no problem with that pick at all. I'm just kind of curious because he's got a lot of PRA and then he's got that high end scoring on the waves. He's going to go Mikal Bridges and sort of balance it all out. You got Zion going to Tommy Beer.
Ooh.
So Tommy's going the pop route as well. And Rick, I know you're a fan. And what makes you think Zion's going to turn it around this year?
I don't know. Hope. The law of averages. What goes around comes around. Every squirrel finds a nut. Like, I mean, at some point, he's got to have a healthy year, right? Like, I can't say, Brew, I can tell you definitively that Zion Williamson will play 69 games this year. I don't know. But I think he's going to have a healthy year. I mean, we've seen Doc always says it's photoshopped, seeing with the weight off and stuff like that. But dang it, he's such a good player. And he's still, I think he's 24. All right. And so he did not treat his body as seriously as he needed to. Okay. We're overweight. We're getting hurt because of it. Well, it looks like he's finally kind of turned the corner to being that serious professional ball player. I don't know. I'm just feeling Zion this year.
I want to say it was Anthony Davis last year, but I don't want to take credit or anything for this because I didn't have Anthony Davis pretty much anywhere, I don't think, and I don't think I ranked him higher than anybody else. I think I was on the low end with that. But I've had this thought just looking at his box, for years and years and years. It's like at some point the guy's got to play 70 games. He can't go an entire career without playing 70 games. That would be crazy, right? And then he goes and he pops off. And
hey, you're on the clock, by the way. Sorry, Brew. You're on
thank
the
you.
clock.
No, you were doing the Lord's work, my friend. I love it.
For two.
Okay. Do I gotta do another guard? I can't do another guard here. That would be just insane. How much time do I got? 30 seconds left to kind of scan and see what am I going to be doing here. So I've got 3 guards and I'm definitely guard heavy and not enjoying that. Looking at about 48 here. I got Derek White on the board. Derek White's going to be on my basketball team. So let's just establish that as fact. And that makes 4 guards in a row.
You're down to 10. Oh, D White. Wow. You took another guard.
I did. I got to do it, man. It's Derek White. He's sitting there. First of all, Derek White powered all of my teams to high stake wins last year. I loved every second of it. I think I had more Derek White than any other player on any team. Thank you, Derek White, for the wing of my house. I'll just dedicate it to you. Now I have questions, though. What am I going to do here?
Get a big.
I got to get a big.
Get a big.
Guess I'll get the Jalen Duren pick that I haven't really been taking this year. I'll say this about Jalen Duren as I draft him. A little bit early. I'm on the end, so sue me. He does look a little quicker than last year, which makes sense. If you're playing with bad ankles, you're going to look slow. So he looks a little quicker this year. I'm just not convinced that he's going to have the blocks that he really needs to make this all just work. I like Detroit a lot this year. I actually watched them against the Rockets in preseason, and both teams were taking the first half really seriously. And I like the way that they just held up. I mean, at times they looked like the better team. JB Bickerstaff, I don't think he's there to tank. I think they're there to win some games. And so I'm not saying that they're going to, be a top 4 team or anything. I don't think if I said that they were a top 6 team, I think that would be a little bit of a push, but I like what they got going on there. Let's get this thing caught up. So Zion went to Tommy Beer. Dan Palio took Paul George. That's an interesting pick. Jaylen Brown to Dan Titus. Doc A takes Miles Turner. Desmond Bain to Trevor Lane at 4-10. Rudy Gobert to Matt. I'm going with Matt now the rest of the show. Derek White. Sorry. Derek White and Jalen Duren on the ends for me. And then Jamal Murray back to Matt. Pascal Siakam to Trevor Lane. That's a sneaky value right there.
Yeah.
And then Miles Bridges to Doc A. And we're starting to get to this point of the draft where it feels like value is everywhere. And you start to really see people's preferences about what they think is valuable and what they don't think is valuable play out. And it's interesting to see how people work their teams because you can kind of get what you want in this range. But maybe not in a scenario like this. I don't know. Julius Randle's off the board.
Tommy Beer is killing me softly. Tommy Beer's got a squad, dude.
He's taking your guys and
Tommy Beer is killing me, man. He's got Team Kamla right here. Brunson,
you guys are fighting for that same lane.
Oh man, he's got Julius Randle at 5'7" is robbery. I mean, again, 20, 10, and 5. We're flirting with those numbers. Why wouldn't he get those numbers in Minnesota this year?
I think he'll flatten out a little bit and be a little bit more efficient. You'll just get a lot better version of Julius Randle than, of course, he would have been in New York. Quickly to Dan Palio. That's good value there. OG Anunoby to Andy Murray as he rounds out now the wings on his team. Really interested to see what he's doing there. Philip Rossman Reich with Jarrett Allen feels like a value pick there. Nice and solid. Don't have to worry about too much. So he's assembling some interesting a little big man quartet, or not quartet, triplets. I don't know.
Triumvirate.
Yeah, but do you ever see 3 people singing in like a doo-wop band? I don't know what that would be called.
I don't even know what a doo-wop band is, dude.
It's the things that pop in my head on live TV. I can't stop them.
I'm a jam band.
You are a jam band. You're
mess around with
doo-wop
and
you're the bongos. You're a bongo guy.
Yeah, hold on. I'm on the clock here, but
you're going to show those bongos. This is
my first drum that I got in Colorado way back in the day.
Beautiful. So I'm glad that you spent roughly 25 seconds showing us your bongos.
Okay. All right. Let me make a pick here. A couple of picks.
While he's picking, Andre takes Darius Garland. I think he's got a soft spot for Garland this year. Sources say Brandon Miller to Brian Rosenworcel. That's a rock solid pick right there. Brandon Miller. I'm curious what he can become. I when I saw the first couple preseason games,
I got these picks, dude. I got these.
You got it figured out? Okay. I was just chewing up airspace.
I'm going Brook Lopez. Sorry to interrupt, Brew. I know we're kind of just. No,
this is important. This is all very important.
So I took Brook Lopez because I got to get I need another big and I need the blocks and the steals, and I think Lopez is going to have a good year. I'm down to DeMar DeRozan here, Brew, or Zach LaVine, former teammates. I gotta take Zach LaVine. I gotta take Zach.
You're betting he holds up, huh?
I am. I'm. Boy, that's a good point by you with the holds up.
I shouldn't have said that's the inner dialogue, just leaving the mouth. I think I just changed his mind. My apologies.
You know what? I'm on a Zach LaVine thing.
You do your thing, Rick. Don't let me sway you.
I'm on a Zach LaVine thing this year. I understand look, man. If he's right, he's going 25, 4, and 4 with almost 3 threes per game. If he's right. DeMar DeRozan does not give us threes, blocks, or steals. That's why he's still available in this league right now. So I'm going to go Zach LaVine, my boy. He's my boy this year. Bruce.
You know what? I watched Lonzo Ball look really good in very limited action, and it spoke to me in the sense that, like, yeah, maybe we do overvalue some of this injury stuff. We talked about it earlier on the show with Doc A. It's the devil's in the details with this injured player stuff. Like, you got to really know what you're doing, and then you can get some amazing values out of guys. And maybe he's not the high-flying Zach LaVine. Maybe he doesn't play a lot of games. But if he turned the corner, if he kind of knows what he is now, and he's talking like he knows what he is now, that's another key thing. It's like if he's just cool with being a little bit less Zach LaVine and being more of a role player, that could help his numbers. So there's some interesting angles there. DeAndre Ayton off the board to Rosenworcel.
But Brew, they can't have him be a role player. Like, you know what I mean? He's on a max contract. He's a 20-plus point per game guy. I think we're going to get a star stat line from him. I really do.
I think there's just a little bit of a difference, like a little shade to the Austin Reeves to Andre. That's a great pick right there. Shades to just a little bit of a shade to go off the ball. I mean, you got two guys in Kobe White and Josh Giddey that need the ball in their hands. I mean, if they don't have the ball in their hands, something's wrong. I think they could just lean into a little bit more LaVine off the ball. And by the way, LaVine's one of the better shooters of the past few years, which is not something I thought I would say when he was getting drafted way back when. DeMar DeRozan off the board to Philip Rossman-Reich. The Kings forced the action to him all preseason long, as would be expected as you're trying to integrate a new piece. That'll be interesting just to see how that all gels in the first month or two of the season. And if they take on any water, if they start to struggle a little bit, does that really push them down, and the people get they start doubting themselves and the pressure starts to build that maybe they didn't make the right moves? I actually really like the Sacramento Kings this year. I had the over for their win totals, and I think that they will be a strong over win totals bet. You can get the rest of my picks over in the wager pass at sportsethos.com. Trey Murphy, big contract, and Andy's probably tapping into that here a little bit with the injury concerns, right? The fact that he gets the big contract, pardon me, to me, that signals confidence that he doesn't have like a bigger issue than the one that we're looking at right now. And at 6-5, especially in this environment, I think that's a great pick right there to kind of get ahead of what we'll probably see a little late draft season boost for Trey Murphy and his ADP. So solid set of wings there for Andy. Cam Thomas off the board to Tommy Beer. Tommy's just going for it. He's stealing your thunder, Rick.
I love Tommy's team, man.
Just letting you know, he's stealing your thunder.
He could. We're playing this out, no moves, right? And so you got Cam Thomas, a dude a little earlier took quickly. Like, I get it. I love him too, but are they going to play the final month of the regular season? So these are still questions that I have. I could see Cam Thomas, Brew, and this would just be it'd be a basketball tragedy, but I could see Cam Thomas, okay? You go to ESPN.com, you look at the leaderboards, leading scorers in the NBA, and you got, Embiid and Luka and SJ, and you got all those guys up here, and Tatum and Durant and Booker, and you got all these guys up here. And then you got this dude, you got Cam Thomas up there. Okay, Brew, let's say he's at 25.7 points per game. He's like 14th in the NBA in scoring or something like that, right? And then they shut him down. And then he doesn't maybe play enough games to qualify. Like, I don't know, let him play, man. Brew, the Nets are going to lose every game by 20. With Cam Thomas scoring 35 points a game, let him play.
I love your rant. I love you, Rick. I hope you just keep talking because I can stare at the board now and figure out what the hell I want to do here.
Ooh, he's on the clock again.
Yeah, availability is a pretty big deal, and I just don't think I'm going to get a chance at either of these guys. So I'm going to go for a pair of young, longer, stretchy. Oops, I screwed up and I almost messed that up.
Did you take a dude? Clock just ran out. Did you mean to take Keegan Murray?
I did mean to take Keegan Murray, but I meant to not take him at that spot. So I just need to find. I'm so glad it didn't auto me there.
Me too.
And backing that up with Jabari Smith. So there's a couple players that are just going to be healthy and play. I'll leave it at that.
I like both those.
After going guard, or whatever I did. Jalen Duren, Keegan Murray, Jabari Smith. Hopefully
I'm into it.
Some solid value there. CJ McCollum, big fall in draft day. And hopefully he's a part of whatever the movement piece of whatever's happening in New Orleans. And then speaking of New Orleans, Brandon Ingram off the board at 7-3. I think this, and I wonder if Trevor using his front office knowledge is playing into this a little bit because Trey Murphy getting that contract to me signified the end of the Brandon Ingram era in New Orleans. And they're going to probably now start moving forward. And maybe that's what Trevor's tapping into there, because at some point, Brandon Ingram's going to have to play basketball somewhere in a situation that's set up for him. And it's not going to be New Orleans, I don't think. And then he kind of goes back to being more of a top 60 guy. And a top 60 guy with his injury risk, like where does he get drafted? Well, 75, where he got taken here, is kind of right for a guy like Brandon Ingram, especially since if everything goes well for a guy like Brandon Ingram, he can cook. He could actually be top 40. And, who knows after that. But with the injury risk equation, that's why he's fallen in drafts. And I think this news might signify a little uptick for him. Jordan Poole goes to Doc A, just trying to right the wrongs of prior seasons. Just keep chasing. Just keep chasing, Doc.
Dude, your comedy material is on fire today, man.
Oh, thank you so much. When you become a dad, you are instantly hilarious, and then you get a big head, and then you think you can just go do open mic night at the SportsEthos Invitational or something. Kyle Kuzma off the board to Dan Palio. And now, Tommy, I'm curious. Well, I don't have to be curious much longer.
Sure, it was a great pick.
Off the board. Yeah, I was going to say, he's just basically going for all your guys. Curious what Andy does here. Where does he go next? Because he's got.
Are we going to take another Nick?
Yeah,
he must be a Knicks fan. The England to LaGuardia flight is in full.
He's got his name on it because everybody loves LaGuardia. Tyler Hero off the board. So going for some.
I like
Here's an interesting cat. The role is on lockdown. He's another guy. He's so young. For him to have these games played numbers in his career, it's hard to project this stuff, but at some point in time, he can't be a sub 70 game guy. He's got to.
You would think.
He's got to have years. Bradley Beal off the board to Phillip, and Michael Porter to Andre. Andre. Shout out to Phillip. He's doing the draft and covering Suggs' new contract. I don't know what the numbers are.
What did Suggsy get? What did my boy Suggsy get?
I want to say it was a big number. But that's the reality of today's NBA is a big number. Just a couple of years ago is kind of a middle of the road guy. I love everything about Suggs. I hope he's turned the corner on injuries, and I hope he develops the finer points of shooting and offensive game, because he's got the mentality and the defense to be a really good player in this league. Yeah,
my boy got 5 and 150. Jalen Green just got taken.
The Thunder God.
You
swooping in and taking Jalen Green. I think there's going to be some Jalen Green moments this year. I don't know if they're going to be for Houston or another team, but we're talking about somebody who could be flirting with uncoverable if he can get a few things figured out, a few additional things figured out with his game. He might hit that uncoverable range because he's got the hops and the quicks and the length to make it happen. So you're on the board now, Rick, with 2 straight picks.
We're going to go Walker Kessler. I'm going to load up on blocks. Nobody's beat me in that category.
No. That's the truth. As long as your players are upright, nobody's beating you in blocks.
Dude, Kuminga is center eligible on Fantrax. Fantrax, I am a defender. I am an apologist, but I don't agree with that. And that's okay.
How does something like that even happen?
That's kind of crazy, right?
Did he play a game at center? Did he play minutes at some point?
I think they're guessing, and I think they're guessing wrong. I tell you what, this is going to be a controversial pick. I'm going to take Bogey Bogdanovic over Jonathan Kuminga.
That is.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
I love the commentary, and I would also say I like the pick. I think Bogey is really, really focused, like laser focused, as Woj would put it, on staying healthy, being light. And I don't know why that came in these. I know why it came. He got knee injuries, but why wasn't it that from the start? I don't know. Maybe it's just dumb luck, but I do think he's making a concerted effort to stay healthy. Mark Williams off the board. I think this is the area we've seen Mark Williams going off the board all draft season. And it speaks to what are we doing with Mark Williams? Kind of question. Nobody knows what we're doing with Mark Williams. Mark Williams might not know what we're doing with Mark Williams. Does Brian know what we're doing with Mark Williams?
I'm not drafting him and leaving him for others to take. That's what I'm doing with Mark Williams.
But, and Daniel Gafford off the board to Andre. I don't say that with any tone in my voice whatsoever. The Mark Williams stuff. I mean, what do you do? A guy's going to be the starter if he's healthy. He's going to play probably 25 minutes a game at least. And theoretically, it's just sitting there for him, but already injury news. So it's a bit of a risk reward play. You probably got some top 50 upside if he can if he can stay on the floor. But, nobody's projecting that, of course. It's but in this stage of the draft as well, looking for guys that have good blocks, good field goal percentage, and can make up if you've gone guard or whatever. Like, kind of happens with a lot of my drafts. I look at Mark Williams. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to gamble here, especially in a 2-center format. And it's it's all iffy at best. Philip Rossman-Reich takes Malik Monk. Monk just got paid. And if I had to guess without making a phone call, it's not really hard to read this one. I'm pretty sure he got a promise of shots and minutes in addition to what he's had in the past. That's why you take less money, folks, to stay in Sacramento where he likes it. And he should like it. They got a good team. And he's on. Yeah, shoot, Rick.
So, Brew, going back to Bogdan Bogdanovic for a minute, I think people are sleeping on this dude, man. Last year, if you round, okay, he's at 17, 3-3, 1.2 steals, 3 threes per game. That's a pretty darn good under the radar stat combo right there. And you don't have DeJounte Murray. I can see Bogey going up to 18 or 19 points per game this year on this Hawk team. So I'm not trying to build up my pick. I'm trying to help people listening to us right now. If you've got a draft tonight, and again, you look at some of the guys on my team here, Brew. It's not the best 3-point shooting team. I got Wemby, Lillard, Morant, not a huge 3-ball guy. Paulo, not a huge 3-ball guy. Lopez, Levine, Kessler, not any threes. And then I get Bogey banging 3 threes per game. So I think he's a nice under the radar pick for people. I really do.
I don't have it in front of me, but if we played this league out this year and had last year's results, Bogdanovic would have been a top 50 guy. And that's or thereabouts 50, 60, something in that range. So, I mean, it's there. And also the opportunities there. That team needs him to do everything he can do and not an ounce less. And that's just a great formula he literally just has to stay healthy. And we can say that for a lot of players on the board here, but in his case, it's just sitting there.
Who would you go? Would you go Kuminga or Bogey Bogdanovic if you were presented?
I would go Bogdanovic. Kuminga's got a lot of issues. I mean, he's super talented. I mean, he stands out on the floor. He's just an amazing specimen of a player. But just all the stuff in the in the details section of the game, he's not caught up there. I think there's some friction. If I had to guess, just on the team in the sense that he wants to do more, but they're like, hey, young guy, you can't do this just yet. You got to learn the finer points of the game. And then the small forward question is a lot going on there. And then he's got some deficiencies in fantasy as well, but they need him to score. So there's definitely rationale to get behind Kuminga because of that fact. He has to be good for Golden State to be good. So that's an interesting factor there. Jakob Poeltl, Andy Murray, Kuminga to Tommy Beer, Nurkic to Dan Palio, D'Angelo Russell, who had a great season last year, to Dan Titus, Naz Reid to Dake. He loves himself some Naz Reid. And Trevor Lane's up, and then I'm up on the turns here. So I've got a couple things I got to figure out here real quick. Matt, he with no last name, is on the board, and I got to just worry about one more snipage here, and also load up my queue so I don't have any of those issues. There's a lot of value on the board right now. As I kind of.
Is there?
I like it. I'm
not seeing a lot of people out here that I'm excited to draft.
I'm different like that. I got options.
I just waxed poetic about Bogey Bogdanovic, man. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that going forward here.
I'm pissed that I might not get my guy because I'm just pissed I'm not going to get my guy.
Are you just kind of having a bad day? Or are you just kind of
No, I know. Well, no, what is happening is I'm getting crap from
Was Tyus Jones your guy?
No, he's not. So I will take a couple players that I quite like very much. And I don't get enough of Herb in my life. I really don't. I need more Herb in my life.
Was that a pot reference? Is that what you're
It
doing
could have
there?
been. It could have been. But no, seriously. I have steals coming out my ears all the time in drafts. So sometimes I just don't need the
It's
herb.
smart.
I don't need the herb.
Yeah, you got a nice steal team, dude. You got
I
a real
love
nice steal
I
team.
love the herb, but I can't, get it on my team enough. And then this next pick here, I'm good with it. I'm good with it. We'll go ahead and swing for the fences and take Amin Thompson. And
dude, getting that fantasy gold, man. Herb Jones at 8-12 is doing some stuff, man. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and I got a very important note that all of you care about. Andre doesn't like me anymore. So there, I did it. I made the world's nicest person unhappy.
You did. Hard to do. Very hard to do.
Man, if you're making that guy unhappy, whoo boy, you got some issues. All right, Trevor Lane's up. And it looks like he went RJ Barrett. I got a little caught up in my own picks there, so let's reset the board. Trevor Lane, RJ Barrett, and then Tyus Jones to Matt. I got Herb, and I got Amen. I need nothing else in my life. Like Drew Holiday off the board to Matt. You like that one, Rick?
That was really good.
I like that one myself. Trevor Lane on the clock.
Should be your team name, Herb and Amen.
Yep. So Trevor's team is really low-key interesting to me. He's got a lot of value kind of stacking up, and of course the Embiid at the top. Like, I think there's multiple teams in contention to win this thing. I'd be curious for folks in the chat which team you guys like the best. Put it in the chat and let us know. Doc A's up. I'm already missing Doc A. Where is Doc A when we need him?
Okay, so I'm looking at some squads that are strapped, as they say. I'm looking at Dr. A's team. He's losing me here. Denny Abdia, you lost me. I don't know, man. I like Dr. A's team. I do. I'm not crazy about that pick, but it's the 9th round. Who cares? It's Sleeperville anyway. But he's got Naj, Jordan Poole, Josh Giddey, Miles Bridges, Miles Turner, Jaren Jackson Jr., Barnes, Young. I mean, it's a hell of a team. What can I say?
Well, and let's reset again. Drew Holiday to Matt. That seems crazy to me, by the way. I didn't think that was, I mean, of course, he was on the board for me and I could have picked him. I got 5 million guards. I decided I didn't want to do that. But Drew Holiday's perennially a 4th rounder. Obviously some injury issues. He was in the best shape I've seen him in the last 3 to 4 years in the playoffs. So I don't know if slippage is on the table for him. Vassell, here's where, and I'm gonna read these names off, and then I'm gonna say the most interesting one that's just hanging out. We talked about him earlier in the show, but Devin Vassell, injury risk, but usually a mid-rounder when he's healthy. And maybe this thing's not such a big deal starting off the season. That's kind of the sense you get out of the reporting locally. Abdia, lots of opportunity. They like him in Portland. Will he play the whole season because of tanking and all of that? Sort of the question mark there. But I kind of like Abdia this year. Edey, what if factor is just that's the draw. Like, is he going to do something that we couldn't project? Palio takes a Kongwu. Kongwu, we've been waiting for this for years, man. You got to do it, man. We've been rooting for you forever. You got to do it. Terry Rozier to Tommy Beer, who's just firing off for gunners left and right everywhere. Andy, the man of my heart, Colin Sexton. That's real good value there. Real good value, Andy. And then Suggs. So Philip can tell him in the locker room that he selected him in the Sports Ethos Invitational and get a blank stare. Andre is going to
what? Where?
You did what and why? And I also don't want to hear about that. Andre now has taken all of my favorite players, and I guess that's okay. That's quite all right. Just a little pain in the voice here. No worries though. Using a lot of clock here, Andre. I get the Giannis Antetokounmpo clock all the time when I take a while, and he backs it up with the Derek Lively pick, and that's just super interesting. Like, you get basically both sides of the timeshare there, and See if you can make something work with that. Brian takes Josh Hart. It's a great pick for your fandom and a great pick for you in general. And some sneaky upside there, because if somebody gets hurt, Josh Hart knows how to clean up. So what you thinking, Rick? You got 2 on the board right now.
Yeah. I'm not really looking at anything specific here. I feel like I got a pretty balanced team. So I'm just kind of going with my gut here. And I'm gonna go Chris Paul. I'm gonna go get those assists. I think he's gonna have a really good year with Wemby. Hey, I got Chris Paul and Wemby lobbing to each other on the same team. And this pick right here, I'm thinking about a center, and I do need one more for my forward/center spot. And I'm not going to wait any longer. You all hate this guy. I don't know why. His name is Clint Capella, and y'all hate him. Everybody hates Clint Capella.
Everybody hates Clint.
They do. All he is 12 points, 10 rebounds, 1.5 blocks per game. Draft him before you screw this up. Why does everybody hate Clint Capella? I don't understand.
Because they wanted a Kongwu to happen, and it didn't happen, and then everybody's got egg on their face. And Clint Capella wins again.
He could get traded into an even better situation of playing time and desire and motivation.
It would have been a lot better had New York not done the cat move, because New York seemed like such a logical place for him to land. But that took it off the board. And speaking of the board, I think it's time to have the Kawhi Leonard talk, everybody. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Running for our lives, dude.
Seriously, I watched this play out.
Bro,
I know. I'm just curious. Okay. Who here in this format is a big deal. Like, you don't get to make any moves. So it puts even more pressure on the games played component, especially at the end of the year in a playoff setting.
Right.
So I wonder how far Kawhi falls here. And by the way, he finished 5 last year, 6 last year? I can't remember off the top of my head. We're talking about massive, massive value here. And that's sitting here in the 10th round in an industry draft full of heavy hitters that know what they're doing. And it's shocking to me. It's shocking.
That's why. It's not shocking to me. I mean, we've been down this road a million times with Kawhi Leonard, man. He blew out his right ACL. He was sidecarred by Joe Ingles. Okay. I believe it was the 2021 playoffs. Okay. He hasn't been right since. It's been meniscus surgeries and cloak and dagger procedures that Lawrence Frank wouldn't even admit to around Olympic time. Remember that? Hey, Lawrence, did he have a procedure? Well, we really don't want to get into that. And then we find out 2 months later, he did have a procedure. Okay. Take Kawhi Leonard if you want to lose your league. Put that on a bumper sticker, Brew. Put it on a bumper sticker. Take Kawhi Leonard if you want to lose your fantasy league. Put it on the back of your Audi.
But here's the counter to that. If he announces that he's playing a normal-ish, Kawhi Leonard schedule this upcoming season, and he's playing in 2 weeks, somebody just hit a lottery ticket. And at what point is the risk reward in a good place? And we're going to find out as we'll go through everybody here in round 10. And he's sitting on the top of the board. There's Scoot and then Kawhi. And Kawhi's staring everybody in the face right now. We'll see how many people pass. Let's get a board update here. We got Jaden Ivey to Brian Rosenworcel. Got to love that pick there.
Mm-hmm.
Andre begrudgingly takes Draymond Green, I believe. Jeremy Grant to Phillip. Andy on the clock. A lot going on in this draft. A lot going on.
Ooh, good pick.
Yeah. Ryan points out y'all think Kawhi ain't playing. No, that's true. That's the only reason he's still on the board. Klay Thompson to Andy Murray. Tommy has Isaiah Hartenstein, and that's just a really unique pick there, because
that deserves an awe, right? Tommy Beard, the Nick guy, taking Isaiah, that deserves an awe to me.
It deserves a middle finger, is what it deserves. I'm mad about this.
If you can't beat him, join him as well.
I know. Well, if this is a playoff format, so Hartenstein should theoretically be good in the playoffs, and so you're getting a possible top 75 producer. I mean, the way that the first preseason game was playing out, that the Thunder were really trying in, they were playing Chet and Isaiah together, and it looked fine. It looked like, I think there's going to be teams that can pick it apart, but like as far as that base strategy, it looks fine. It doesn't look like people are going to exploit that. It looks like the other team has the issues to worry about, not the Oklahoma City Thunder. So they could play a lot of minutes together. John Collins goes to Dan Palio. That's a super quality pick. I think Collins has a chance to kind of get out of Utah at the right time and maybe extend his fantasy season. Kawhi off the board. Dan Titus, thank you, sir, for taking the plunge. At least somebody with some nads in this league. We got Norm Powell to Doc A. He was talking about that earlier in today's show. So,
my boy.
So he put his money where his mouth is from earlier today. Trevor Lane, his team keeps popping up on my radar as the well, now I don't want to talk about Trevor Lane because he just took Dante DiVincenzo, one of my favorite.
Is everybody listening here? And how critical can I be on drafts?
Well, it depends. Do you want to talk to these people after today?
Yeah, I do. But two things can be true at once. I do want to talk to everybody in this draft after this draft, but I also got a lot to say.
The floor is yours because I have
my
picks.
cake and eat it too.
You know, I need you to talk because I got picks to make. So you do the talking, and then you deal with the results. You deal with the outcomes.
Yeah, I think that there are some teams in this league that have a lot of risk and just in directions that I wouldn't have gone. And the aforementioned manager, if you kind of can figure out that alphabet soup, I don't want to clobber it, but I'm not crazy about that team. I am. Does Brew have a center? Okay, he's got Jalen Duren. Ooh, he's got Jabari Smith, a little C eligibility as well. You know that we got a lot of C spots to fill here, Brew, right?
I just got one off my chest. Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith.
Everybody just calm down a little bit.
So why are you going Jalen Smith and not Valanciunas, who's got a ridiculous ADP of 98.59 on Fantrax, which makes no sense to me?
Well, first of all, I was thinking about that. So hold your horses here, buddy.
Why is his ADP that high? I don't get it.
You know what? He's just got this reputation, I think, for just kind of being better than advertised. Maybe he's getting the bump from that right away. Let me actually look at my team for a second here and decide. It's such a boring pick. I hate this pick. It's this pick has been presented to me a couple times, and it's
10,
so boring.
9, 8, 7,
I hate
6,
this pick. I just
5,
want to take the ears
3, 2.
Honestly, I can't do this. Jalen Valanciunas
and then you took Valanciunas.
No, I had to. No, it's absolutely mandatory that my squad gets more centers and
get some Jonas.
Yeah. It's that's the problem in these two center drafts is you either have to go big early and deal with that on the front end, or you are just swimming in good options, but you're going to need a little help. And so finding players that you can kind of anchor into these strategies, it just depends on how much value you want to extract out of best player available. And that has been a challenge this year.
Dang. Well, Trevor Lane just got even with me. He just took a guy that I really, really wanted. And so Trevor got the last laugh.
Yeah, let's reset the board here. DiVincenzo to Trevor, and then Alex Caruso to Matt. And then I took Jalen Smith and Jonas Valanciunas, Zachary Risache to Matt, and then Trace Jackson Davis to Trevor. Doc A, he's got a thing for Scoot this year. He almost talked me into it. It's the idea that they can still lose with him on the court, and that they and that his April was very good, and all of those things are true. But can he overcome the efficiency issues and dodge whatever Portland's trying to do this year? That's the question marks there. Dan Titus takes Clam Johnson out of Brooklyn, and Brandon Pajemski to Dan Palio. These are, Pajemski in particular got a lot of pub early in draft season. It feels like the people kind of got uncomfortable with the pub and then let him drop again. And it's probably because in the preseason, there wasn't just this big, massive explosion to point to. It looks like the Warriors are going to chuck threes, though. That is interesting. And I really want to watch the Warriors a lot early on this season because I think that they're going to experiment. They kind of got, they're playing with house money. They know that they're not expected to win, but they want to win and they want to play well to keep Steph happy, presumably. And they can try this funky everybody shoot threes from anywhere on the court kind of an idea. That's I think what they named it. Porzingis to Tommy Beer, and that's a playoff play for sure. Keontae George to Andy Murray. He's an explosive player. I hope he can figure out the fantasy side of things. And then Shaedon Sharpe, Philip Rossman Reich, and then Andre's on the board. Rick, you're coming up here on the turn. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for studs. I'm looking for weapons of mass destruction, my brother. And the problem is we're in the 11th round, and those guys don't exist. But I can tell you this. Pardon me 1 second. I know that I will be taking Marcus Smart with one of these picks. The question is that other guy. And I'm curious about, I'm going through the ADP here, and the pickings are getting kind of slim. So I'm going to go ahead and take Marcus Smart, who is one of my favorite late guys to draft in this draft cycle. And I'm looking at Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr's real sexy to me right now, but so is Bobby Portis. Like, I know what I'm going to get out of Bobby Portis. I got Lopez. There could be a little insulation there. This is interesting. I think because of the setup of this league where you can't make moves, you draft it, you set it, you forget it, and Bobby Portis is, and Sarge's just too much of a question mark. I'm going to take the great Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis.
Lord have mercy. You guys are watching the SportsEthos Invitational. Aaron Brewski, Rick Kamla. We are watching the 12th round of this thing. How many rounds do we got in this? We got 16 rounds. So we are coming down the stretch here. And Rosenworcel took, let's reset a little bit here. We got Wiggins to Andre, PJ Washington to Brian, Marcus Smart and Bobby Portis, if you did not hear a few seconds ago.
Woo!
Rick, and then Al Horford to Brian Rosenworcel of the band Guster. You're touring right now. Their Eras tour is outstanding, I'm told. And I'm also told I get a backstage pass. So, Brian, if you're watching,
nice.
I would like to remind you of that. And I would like to go see the show in Oakland. So hopefully that can happen. It's on a Valentine's Day, actually. So I'm going to have to convince the wife that that's a good idea. What do we got? Buddy Hield to Andre. Bleep you very much. Benedict Mathurin to Philip. Andy Murray on the board. The back ends of drafts, there's a lot of talent available from the Brewski 150 ranks that make it an interesting situation for me because I am typically in a 2-center league trying to play catch up on centers and passing some players with significant value. That's always tough for me as my internal dialogue rolls along, as does the clock. Andy must be thinking over there. What should we do next? I don't know. That's your choice. A wise man once told me, but there are two of us here. Oh, there is Alex Sarr off the board. I'll take that pointless story I was about to mention and just not roll with it. Tommy's got Chris Middleton, even though Middleton's news today wasn't great that he's not playing in the first game. Who knows with that? Another great article out of the Athletic sort of profiling how Middleton's been handling things like rehab and such. And so recommend that when you're thinking about drafting injured players. Hey, go read high quality work that's behind the paywall. You should probably do that. Dyson Daniels to Dan Palio at 12-7. I feel like Daniels super hyped up early in the draft season, and then it just kind of died down a little bit. I love the player. I hope he can put it together from a fantasy perspective. Taylor Hendricks to Dan Titus. That's another buzzy sleeper guy that's definitely got the game. We'll see if it can emerge there in Utah. Doc A, Andre Drummond. I was just about to ask the question if that was on anybody's mind, you or me, Rick, and it's apparently on Doc A's mind. Mike Conley to Trevor Lane. Death, taxes, and Mike Conley outperforming his ADP. Ellie Oubre to Matt. And I am on the clock. So let's see here. I got things I got to accomplish here, and it's a very interesting sleeper possibility. I could go for some major upside here, or I could sit. Let's do a couple things here. I'm gonna take one of my old heroes, Isaiah Jackson. It's a reach, guys. We don't know if he even has the backup minutes. Rick Carlisle doesn't probably like him very much, is my theory, because he wrecked my Isaiah Jackson high ranking in a prior B150, and then now who knows if he'll play the guy or not. That's my questions with Rick Carlisle go deeper, because we just never know what that guy's going to do. I'll take a local favorite, somebody that is near and dear to the locals' hearts. That's Keon Ellis. And we are off to Matt. Matt is on the clock. Let's check out Matt's team here. Let's see how Matt's doing here. We got Donovan Mitchell and Kevin Durant out of that 11 slot. I think you got to be fairly happy with that combo coming out of the 11 slot, because you got some upside there.
Big time.
Kyrie in the third, with the third round reversal is so key, especially this year with Wemby. That Irving pick really solidifies his draft start, and then he starts going big man, recognizing the need for big men in the 2-center format, and he gets Gobert and Claxton, and then he starts taking some kind of older names that still have some pop in CJ McCollum and Jamal Murray. So, all right, I like this. I like what Matt's doing here. And I think all these teams are drafting really well. So I will be spoken with after today's draft. I'm like you, Rick Kamla. Titus is on the board. We got Christian Brown going to Matt, and then Trevor's got Dennis Schroeder and Corey Kispert. We got a question on the screen. Cads in Oakland. That's Yuri. Bitches be ballin'. The new show. We like it a lot here at SportsEthos. You should check that out. She's got a question. Brown before Strother. Question. That's a good question. I don't know, Rick. What you got there?
I'd rather have Strother.
Yeah, Strother is it's a tough one. I mean, Brown's had big moments in the playoffs. Maybe he can work some of those fantasy details out if he gets more opportunity and just keeps developing his game. He's definitely got the athleticism, but Strother's just got all that 3-point shooting and points, and he's probably a little underrated in the other aspects of his game as well. So he, and then Peyton Watson, who hasn't played at all during the preseason, that little 3-man race for who's going to climb up to the top. And that's interesting stuff. I probably got Strother too, but I completely understand, people looking at it different ways. That's good stuff there. Let's see here. We got Aaron Gordon to Dan Titus. That's a safe, nice way to round out your roster there. Grayson Allen to Dan Palio. Good pick there. Reed Shepard off the board. Was Reed. I think it's interesting because there's so many guys in Houston, but he might end up being so good that he just kind of wiggles his way through it. And if that's the case, and he can keep those percentages nice and pristine, maybe there's an angle there for Reed Shepard, and especially maybe down the stretch. I don't know. Houston's they'll be in the mix of something. They won't be coasting by any means. Andrew Nemhard to Andy Murray. Maybe it's an Andy thing. And love Nemhard's game. Love the performance he had in the playoffs as well. Asar off the board. That's a big question. Nobody knows what's up with Asar. If anybody knows what's up with Asar, let us know. Dealing with serious stuff with blood clot issues is not really a joking matter, but there's one Twitter account that keeps pinging Pistons PR. Can we get some sort of an update? And I don't know what the harm is in giving an update. Rick, what would be the harm in giving an update? You've been in the league for so long.
Let me make these 2 picks, and then I will answer that question.
That's a real fantasy drafter right there. He just shuts me up. He's just like, no, shall not talk.
No. I want to, because it's a really good question, and I can give you. I'll let you put the adjective on how my answer is. You can be the judge of that. So I just took Keldon Johnson, who I love, one of my favorite late in draft guys this year. I think he's going to have a nice year for San Antonio. I needed another forward, and now, all right, we got 25. Who was I looking at? I can't find him. All right, I'm going to take a down to 15. Wait, there's my cue, dummy. I'm going to take Gary Trent Jr. He's another one of my favorite. Wait a minute. Draft Gary Trent Jr. Oh, with 2 seconds left, I got him in. Okay. Wow, he's not SF eligible. Okay, that's kind of weird. But I'm worried about this Middleton thing. Trent's already in the starting five. Taurean Prince, based on the preseason, is going to enter the starting five with Middleton out. So that makes him in really, really, really deep leagues a decent late, last round pick. But Gary Trent, think about it, Brew. You've got Giannis going 30. You've got Dame going around 25. Lopez is going to give you like 12. Portis is going to give you like 13. There's room for a guy scoring 15 a game. Is that Gary Trent Jr.? I don't know. It could be. And he's going to hit 1 million threes. The hope is that he gets back to being a +1 steal guy. He's been a good steal guy before in his career. And so I nailed him right there. Now, on the Oscar Thompson thing, the reason the Pistons are being quiet about this is because they probably don't have good news to report. It's a blood clotting issue, which obviously ended Chris Bosh's career. There have been other guys that have had blood clotting issues, and they have been more fortunate, and their condition was at a point where they could gain clearance and come back and play. When I saw that, and by the way, I love Oscar and I love Ahmed. I'm a huge fan of the Thompson twins, their story, where they came from, who they are as ball players, where they're going as ball players. I'm a fan. And I'm bummed out because I'm now very worried about Oscar. Will he ever play again is a question that I have. And he's an absolutely terrific player. Carbon copy of his brother. Okay, like their games are even the same. But I'm very worried about him, Brew. And so the fact that we're not hearing anything from the Pistons, it's because of privacy issues. And is it OSHA? I don't know. But like the releasing of medical information, it's very dicey and it could create lawsuits. And so that's why they're not doing that. But if they had good injury news to report, you bet your bottom dollar that they would be reporting that injury news. Okay, so the fact that they're holding their cards right pinned up against their chest is not good news for Oscar, man. It's not.
Yeah, if only we had a HIPAA expert to bring into the show
HIPAA.
right now.
Yes,
yeah.
HIPAA.
If we only had a HIPAA expert, everything would be so much easier. Now, it sucks. I mean, this is his dream. He's got a long career ahead of him, absent this issue. You can only just hope that it works out. And yeah, no, I think the injury reporting thing is really just interesting because, done this for however many years. I think we're getting close to 20 now. And reading each individual situation is the devil's in the details. You have to know which PR department does things which way. And then when set up as something like this, your analysis, Rick, is spot on, is that it's probably not good news. And that's really unfortunate. And then from a fantasy perspective, he's not getting drafted in a lot of leagues. He's on the cusp of it, and he's going to get drafted in a league like this because upside and the amount of good players in this league are going to make that more likely than a league where there's not as many sharks in the room. So yeah, that's my voice trailing off because my pick is coming up here, and you guys took my picks. I'm not happy with this group. They took my picks, everybody. This is not okay. They go way down the board. Okay, so how many picks do I have left in this draft? I got 3 picks in this draft. All right, I should go for a buzzy upside guy. I'm not personally I'm not driving the Clowney bandwagon this year, but he's going to be the first to go as I use a little bit of my clock here because I just want to evaluate, is there any of my guys that I'm missing as the guy talking on air right now? Am I just making a big mistake? Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know if I'm going to do that in this league. Maybe though. I'll go no. I'm not going to do what I was thinking I was going to do. There's Strother available. Not to say a name out loud. 17 seconds on my pick here. Clowney will be my first pick, so I could just kind of say that and get that out of the way. And
5, 4, 3, 2. Make the pick.
I'll make the pick, but
there it is.
The pick was made, just sitting there in my queue. I got issues. There's a couple people in this draft. I'm not going to point out names that know things, and I'm going to just hope that at least a couple of them, they fade me. They just don't believe in what I believe, and they fade me, and that'll be fine. And then I'm going to take a fun pick. I'm going to take old Sam Hauser.
No!
Yeah, I did it. I think Sam Hauser's way better than people think he is. He's not just a three-point shooter.
I'm a Sam Hauser guy.
Sam Hauser's going to shock the world.
I'm trying to get him in every one of my drafts.
His rebounding and his assist prowess. He's going to get steals and blocks for days.
He's going to be a PRA machine.
Seriously, he's going to save the world like like Bill and Ted did with his three-point shooting. We'll all just come together as a world nation.
Wearing togas, singing songs, breaking guitars.
Yes, exactly.
And cheering for every. It makes me think of the late great Tommy Heinsohn. Give him a Tommy point. Tommy, we miss you down here on Earth, man.
Oh man! All right, so let's reset the board here. It's been a bit of a while actually since I've reset the board. We got way back in 13-10. Milton went to Andre, Jaime Jaquez to Brian. Interesting. I think Jaquez has only up to go because his stat set's kind of deficient, but he should be a better player. He's a better player than that. He played really well in the playoffs when the chips were down against Boston. So I think he could just keep getting better. You got Keldon and Gary Trent, Tari Eason, another guy. Man, he fits Ime Udoka real well. Donovan Clingan to Andre. He's hoping that starts sooner rather than later. Jeremy Sohan to Phillip, Wendell Carter to Andy Murray, Ben Simmons to Tommy Beer, Olynyk to Palio, LeVert to Dan Titus, who is a Cleveland fan, and he's definitely dialed into the fact that Karis LeVert's going to get a nice boost for the next 5 to 6 weeks here due to the Max Strus injury. Peyton Pritchard to Doc A. I think we just talked about him earlier today. So that's interesting that pick went off the board. Stephen Castle, that one is I think Castle's damn good.
He is.
And I mean, he's kind of a stabilizing force. So, I mean, Chris Paul's there. That's a lot of stabilization, so to speak. But Castle can run pick and roll for days. And I don't know what that's going to look like from a fantasy perspective because there's a lot of variables there. What's your read on Castle? Do you think he's going to come out the chute and play 30 minutes per game this year, Rick?
The Vassell injury is really good news for Stephon Castle. But, you've got Blake Wesley, Malachi Branham, Trey Jones, and Julian Champagnie. They got a lot of guys. So I don't know if look, Castle could be 30 and he could be 15. Probably not going to be 30. I think we're going to top out at half the game to begin, Brew, but they're heavily incented to play him. He's the 4th overall pick. He's played well in the preseason. But I would bet against 30 minutes a game.
Yeah, it's a tough number. I think he's got to get to 30 to really make an impact in fantasy leagues. But if, when you're looking for players that you don't know and you have to guess if that's going to happen, you're looking for players who fit that mold. He fits that mold. It's asking a lot for a rookie. We got a lot of picks that just flew off the board here. We had Neesmith to Matt, Jovic to Trevor. That's a really smart pick, Trevor. Great job. I really like that pick a lot. I don't think there's a ton of upside there, but I think he's just in the rotation. He's going to factor into the entire season. And he does. And I shouldn't say he has no upside. I think he does have upside. I think he came to camp really with the proverbial 15 pounds. And I think it's going to be a good season for Jovic. Terrence Mann to Doc A. He's talking about those Clippers today. I think he talked himself into both Pritchard and Mann in today's show. That's my theory there. McConnell to Dan Titus. McConnell's been printing top 100 value for his entire career, so congrats on the pick there, Dan. Palio gets Richards. It's a Trey Man to Tommy Beer. Obi Toppin to Andy Murray. Toppin's always got that sneaky deep league value. So good heads up there, Andy. Jordan Clarkson to Philip Rossman Reich. Ayo Dosunmu. Andre was talking Dosunmu down, and look at you now, Andre. Look at you now, taking Dosunmu. I'd like to say I influenced that decision. Lou Dort to Brian Rosenberg. So we talked about Dort earlier today. Dort, what do you think about Dort, Rick? Is Dort on your radar? Like it feels like he's not on anybody's team, but he kind of should be.
This late, I'm not mad at it. He hits threes, he'll get some steals. I'm not crazy about it though. He's more of a reality guy, not a fantasy guy. So I just took Russell Westbrook because I don't trust Jamal Murray. And Westbrook, he could go 11, 5, and 6, even off the bench with a healthy Jamal Murray year. I happen to think that Russell Westbrook's going to be in at least fringe contention for Sixth Man of the Year. All right, last pick. And I'm not worried about saying names. I'm down to Strother, Koulibaly, Strus, and Rui. And I'm going to go Max Strus with the last pick. Max Strus in the 16th round in a league that we're going to play. I don't even know if he's going to be in my lineup, but I just think he's too good of a player to still be out there. So Strother watch is on, Aaron Brewski, here for the final round. Strother watch is on.
Yeah, I got a different watch going on, and it's at the third pick here. I want to see what's going on with this. Oh, you son of a bitch. You could edit that out. Mitchell Robinson.
He took my boy. My boy, Julian Champagny. I love Julian Champagny.
Yeah. He did it. He did it to get a reaction.
Were you going to take him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was going to take him. I got him Champagny last in like every draft I'm in.
I love Julian Champagny. He's a goodie guy, man. He's a fantasy gold guy when he gets them in.
Yeah. All good, all fun. Love you, Andre. Bilal Koulibaly, Philip Rossman Reich, 16-4. Mitchell Robinson to Brian Rosenberg. Just hanging out there. Maybe he'll just show up, right? When it matters in the fantasy playoffs. Cam Whitmore to Tommy Beer. Andy Murray took Peyton Watson. That's an excellent pick there for Andy. Watson's just all the way under the radar. You know what? It just depends on what your needs are, right? Like if you want to get blocks, like Watson's your guy. And if you need blocks late, Watson's your guy. He's not getting drafted in any drafts, and that's it's weird. He should have been drafted in more drafts because it's just preseason injury stuff. Dan Titus steps up and takes Strother for you.
Strother.
Joe McDaniels to Dan Palio prior to that. The Cam Whitmore pick is really interesting because he just looks like he's ready to ball.
Oh.
But it's like, man, get somebody give him some better ramp and more minutes and a different spot, basically.
I love Cam Whitmore.
Dalton Connect went for how many points the other night in that preseason game? He took over Twitter.
Was it 35 or something like that? 31, 35?
That game got me really fired up because it was like the first time I'd seen Twitter light up on NBA basketball because Dalton Connect just went nuts. And
it all revolves around the Lakers are the sun of the NBA, aren't they? It all just kind of revolves around the Lakers.
Yep. It's that prestige factor. Shout out Blazer Banter. Robert Williams to Trevor Lane. That's a nice little stash pick there. And Baselis to Matt. Baselis has got some serious game.
I'm a fan.
Like
way underdrafted. He was way underdrafted.
All right, I got the last pick of the draft here. So I'm trying to figure out, should I go Yves Missi or Ryan Dunn? And let me just look at I was probably going to be Missi here because I just, in general, are going to need big mans. And I get in questions from the chat. You bring up a good point. Which is that maybe I should take this other guy that I'm also high on. I'm going to do that. I'm not, if I can get to the screen.
4, 3, 2, 1. He's BC.
I demand a recount. That didn't happen. I was supposed to take somebody else, but you know what? My hands don't work like they once used to.
You didn't want Yves Missi?
I'm happy with Yves Missi. He looks like a monster. I just don't know if he's going to get minutes. I don't know if it's going to work for him this season. But no, I love it. I love what he's bringing to the table. It's not like, I'm not worried about, other center options there. Daniel Tice, I think if Missi can stand in the right place on the court and not, do the rookie thing, he's going to be the clear-cut option there. Matkovic is interesting, as well in that little center triumvirate there. But Missi's the one that's jumped. There was a highlight of him as a 7-footer running down the court. He kind of caught a pass and just so elegantly double pump jam. Just a beautiful thing to see. It's the young legs. It's everything you expect out of a young rookie big man. But can he put it together and stand in the right places on the floor? So we did it. We got through all the picks. I didn't get the guy that I wanted in my last pick, but I might just mention that 3 more times before we close out the show. Rick, what did you think? Last thoughts on the draft and thoughts on the injury news. What's the injury news? Is there injury news? Did I miss it? What's the injury news? Well, we'll get back to that.
Let's see here. I'm on.
Got it. What's just like the injury guys in general? Like, wait, what? What is the breaking news? We're live on air. Okay. Alperen Şengün contract. Why are you doing that to me, Andre? Is there a major injury that just happened or is there not? I don't think there is. So I'll ask you this, Rick. Thoughts on the draft? Anything stand out to you? What you got?
Does anything stand out to me? Let me look at the grid here. I mean, a bunch of great drafting. What can I say? I mean, it's a very diverse group. We've got a rock star. We've got a rock star athlete. We've got a bunch of, fantasy, big time brains. Our boy Andre, our boss Andre, is in this draft, so I like that. My boy Tommy Beer, the big. I mean, I'm sure he covers other stuff, but I always see him tweeting about the Knicks. Our boy Dr. A. I'm just curious. I did notice a lot of bigs going. I think people are hip to the fact that you got to go get Paolo Banchero. You got to go get Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, Jalen Johnson. I think everybody's pretty hip to the fact that you got to get those forwards, those center types. And so I did notice a little bit of that. There were some teams that went like really small, but I think that was more of an outlier. Dan Titus went Halliburton, Lonzo, LaMelo, and Cade. Boom, 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 3 in a row. And so he really wasn't worried about the forward thing. But then you kind of look and, he's got Zach Edey, he's got Zubac, he's got Vucevic. All right, Jaylen Brown, Franz Wagner, Kawhi Leonard. It's not how I would set up a team, but I see Dan Titus. I see what he's doing. I don't dislike his team. I like that he got McConnell late to back up Halliburton and get that handcuff. But, Brew, my question for you is this. So we're going to play this out. We're not going to make any moves. And I always want to know the competitive stuff here. So how are we doing this? Is it just how many starters are there? It's like a lot.
The whole boat's active.
So even the bench players are active.
Even the bench players are active. I'm sure there's a couple fantasy GMs maybe shaking their head with some of the picks. Not too many, but thinking maybe it's going to, because it's the give and the take, right? Are you gonna get the pop from somebody like Kristaps Porzingis in the playoffs when you need it? And we're just being told top 8 make it to the playoffs. So you really got a great shot at making it to the playoffs no matter what. And I think that was purposely set up that way to just kind of increase the fun factor with this league. But at the same time, you got to get to the playoffs in order for this to actually pan out for you. So a pick like a Porzingis or a Mitchell Robinson, some of these later picks, Robert Williams, they might just sit forever, but then when it matters most. So can you get to the playoffs? If you took maybe a player like that early, and then you were relying on them late, you just got to ask yourself, did you get to the playoffs? Is basically more or less the issue there. What I'm noticing is just how people are handling the big man issue in general for a 2-center league. I find that to be fascinating. I play in a lot of 2-center leagues, not necessarily partial to one way or another. It's just the way that it gets set up. There's a lot of creative attempts to deal with that issue. And it's why you got to really dig into your league settings, and you got to really understand kind of what you're shooting for, and do a bunch of drafts, and lots of pockets of value on the board here. Maybe we'll try to publish this board at some point, but yeah, I think this is a great draft. The other thing that strikes me about this draft is I think, gosh, I don't usually I'll look at a draft and I'll be like 5 teams will be, you guys got no chance. This here, I'm looking at each team. I wouldn't know which one I could rule out for contention here. And that makes it fascinating. We'll see who gets to donate to charity and who gets the cash prize at the end of the year. So any closing thoughts, Rick, before we walk on out?
I'm glad we're playing it out, even without the moves. And so, no, this has been fun. I mean, we just got paid, Aaron Bruschi, to do a draft, to do a fantasy basketball draft here on SportsEthos. So life is good, man. Life is good. We got a couple of Monday Night Football bangers tonight, okay? By the way, shout out to the New York Liberty, Brew.
Oh, God, yeah.
Shout out to the New York Liberty. Just quickly here, Game 5 last night, okay? It was ugly. Sabrina Ionescu had the worst shooting game of her career, okay, and won a ring on that night. Very ironic, right? Breanna Stewart had a bad game. Courtney Williams could not make a shot for the Minnesota Lynx. But I don't want to focus on all that. That game reminded me of Game 7, 2010 NBA Finals, Boston, LA. You remember that game, Brew?
Yeah.
It was like 80-78. It was super low scoring. Nobody could make a shot. Incredibly defensive and rugged. And it came down to, Sasha Vujicic making 2 free throws to go from 2 to 4 late in the game. Kobe and Pau got their second together. But it reminded me of that. Like every single point was precious. And Minnesota, Brew, they had him. Minnesota had him, and they let him off the hook. You can't beat Sabrina in the Liberty on the worst night of her career. In the FISA call, you're just an amazing player. But love the WNBA season, love the playoffs and the finals. I'm very happy that they're going to 7 games in the WNBA finals next year. They should have already been doing that. And we'd get 2 more of these great games. But shout out to the New York Liberty, man, their first ever championship.
Yeah, I've been head down, so I haven't been able to watch Game 4 or 5. I just read about all the complaining about the calls and all of that and the drama after the game, which is unfortunate because, frankly, the Game 3 that I did watch, and I've watched it like 3 times now, it's just been replaying on NBA TV, and I'm like, man, that was a game. That was just some serious, great basketball being played. And if I just had a little bit more ability to clone myself, and it just happens to be our busy season is right during the kind of the tail end of their season, I would be watching that all the time. And it's just great stuff. Excellent to shout that out. We got Rick, you're back on the pod Wednesday after the games.
Yeah, so I'm I'll be a Monday pod, and then Wednesday. When do we come on? Midnight, 12:30.
Yeah, you guys are doing a Pac-12 after dark. You're doing the dark shift late at night, breaking down games and making sure that you guys are all caught up.
Andre, he says around midnight, basically.
Yeah, around midnight Eastern time. You guys,
that's my witching hour, man.
Yeah, you're gonna definitely want to tune in for that. These 2 guys with Doc
got no problem with me there,
and
man.
Rick mixing it up.
I'm just getting wrapped up at midnight, bro.
Oh man, that's gonna be good. I might just join those shows just for the hell of it. I think other than that, you guys want to check out sportsethos.com. We have great in-season content. We have big news for subscribers. We're going to be getting you guys an app. So you guys are going to have some special tools that you won't get anywhere else but the app. The in-season tools, they're powered by the B150. Why that's important is there's nobody crazy out there doing 400 hours worth of research every year on NBA basketball statistics. I don't think teams are doing that. I don't think Vegas is doing that. Only weirdos like me are doing that. And we work with this all summer long. So basically the foundation of what we do here is based on heavily researched numbers. And you're going to carry that through the season. You're going to have that in each and every single one of these tools. So you guys, there's a bunch of new stuff there. Check it all out at sportsethos.com. And that's going to do it. I want to thank every single participant in this invitational. It's a great thing that it's for charity, and it's great to just bring everybody from around this great industry into one room, and especially some folks that are in adjacent industries and doing other stuff out there. So thank you guys all for your time and your presence and for drafting extraordinarily well. I think our listeners, readers, et cetera, viewers got to really get a good taste of what a super competitive draft looks like. So thank you guys all for being a part of that. That's going to do it for Fantasy NBA today, as well as the Sports Ethos Invitational. We will see you guys around, and good luck to you this season.